Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review as well as a demo and showing you some swatches of the brand new Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge Eyeshadow palette. So for those of you that are not aware, Huda Beauty normally releases one, sometimes two large palettes a year. This one was delayed, and she specifically stated the reason why it was delayed because it normally comes out around September, October time, because I always buy this for my friend's birthday and I didn't this year. And the reason being that she didn't feel that it was appropriate to release an eyeshadow palette because of what is happening in Gaza at the moment. And I really respect her for doing something like that, but obviously at some point she did have to release it because it's been on the back burner waiting for it to come out. So first off, this retails at £62. Pricey, yes it is. And I do have a complaint. This is my second palette, and the reason being is the first time I got it, and I bought mine from ASOS, is that it came to me broken. The top was broken, and then one of the eyeshadows inside was also broken. So I sent it back and reordered it again from ASOS. You guys, it was broken again. This palette is actually broken, which is why I'm not even holding it open properly. I mean, I'll show it to you up close in a minute, but it was broken, and then this eyeshadow right here was stuck to the inside of the mirror, and it was the same with the other palette as well. This eyeshadow, which is called Rebel, is actually very soft and easily breakable. Yeah, so there's nothing I could do. I complained to ASOS again and they just told me to keep it, and I was like, all right then, and they'll give me a refund. So technically I've not actually spent any money. However, I do have to say that something that costs £62, this packaging needs to be a lot more robust. This is not the first time one of my Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes has broken from the top. The other one of mine that is broken, it didn't get to me broken, but it broke over time. And I would just like to say that if you're charging that amount of price, which I know the majority of which goes into this palette, it needs to be excellent. So this is what it looks like up close. Very cool. You can see my palette is broken, and then also this bit is broken as well, which means I can't actually close it properly, which is really annoying. And then this eyeshadow here had completely attached itself to the mirror, and I was luckily able to close it and push it down and place a little bit of alcohol in it because that binds it all together. But this is what it looks like all of the eyeshadows. So altogether there are 18 eyeshadows, and this is very much a cool toned eyeshadow palette. So let me just read to you what Huda has claimed about this. A limited edition 18 well eyeshadow palette packed with ultra pigmented shades and innovative textures. Everything you need to create an everyday look, a grunge vibe, or sultry siren eyes. This smoky cool toned palette is full of wearable and versatile shades from matte nudes to multi-chromatic foils, a black eye gloss, and decadent sparkly blacks and silvers. Universally alluring, these shades can help you rebel and redefine your look every day so you can be unapologetically glam, modern, or grunge. So it says about this that it is intensely pigmented, a variety of textures, smooth application, easy to blend, buildable coverage, minimal fallout. So there are 11 matte shades altogether, which I think is a pretty decent amount of matte shades. And then you've got the textured foiled shades, and then you've got the matte gloss in the corner. And what I like about this is that there is a variety of cool tone shades. It's not just one, like just greys. So you've got your kind of browny cool tone shades, you've got your purpley sort of mauvey kind of colours, and then you've got a couple of greyish sort of tones as well. And then in terms of the foiled shades, you've got a variety of different shades there as well. So I really like the colour story of this. So this is the first time that Huda has released a large £18 palette full of cool tones. Generally she releases a lot of warm tones, so this is a very nice change. And it's definitely something that quite a lot of you will like. It depends on whether or not you are the kind of person who likes to wear a lot of cool tones. Now bear in mind, this is obviously like an end of year limited edition palette, so it's going to be great for the current holiday season that's coming up, and great for smoking out looks, great for everyday wear. You can wear these shades to work as well. The majority of the matte shades are actually quite on the pale side. Now they all show up against my skin tone, but you do need to bear that in mind in case you're worried if you've got deeper skin tone, some of the shades may not show up, but I will swatch them on my skin tone, and then obviously it's completely up to you to decide. I've always liked Huda's foiled shades. They're always very intense. And I like the fact that you can basically just mix and match and do what you want. Also, the gloss shade, which is in this palette as well, is great to use as a base for so many of the eyeshadows on here. I've actually used it in today's video on my lower lash line. Then I've placed the black matte eyeshadow on top of it to set it and really smoked out my lower lash line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swatch these all for you guys on my light to medium skin tone, just so that you can see what they are swatched like with a finger. Bear in mind, if you use a brush, it's a little bit more diffused. So this shade right here is called Liberty. Liberty is obviously a matte shade, as you can see, and is a gorgeous kind of deep peach color. Great for transitional shades, blending out shades, or to wear on its own. This next shade here is called Heroin. This is another matte shade, and it's a very pale peach kind of color. Doesn't show up on my skin tone at all, so I've just been basically using it to set my eyeshadow primer to make my eyelids nice and soft before I blend out other shades on top. So on most people, this really won't show up. Like I said, it's a finger swatch, not a brush swatch. You can just take my word for it. This shade here is called Avant Garde. This one is one of the foiled shadows. You can see how thickly rich and pigmented it is. This is like a shimmery gunmetal grey kind of colour. So pretty. This shade here is called Renegade. This is obviously a matte black shade, slightly on the patchy side as you can see, but I found that it worked really well on top of the gloss, as well as to smoke out your eyes as well. This shade right here is called Brave. This is another matte shade. It's a beautiful deep mauve colour, really beautifully pigmented. This shade here is called Beauty Chaos. Now this is a very unique colour. This is obviously matte and it's like a deep lavender shade. I really, really like this colour. This shade here is called Rise Up. This one is another very pigmented matte shade. This one is definitely leaning more on the taupey beige kind of side. Does show up on my skin tone. I'm using it on my eyes today. This shade here is called Stand Up. This is another one of the foiled eyeshadows. Absolutely gorgeous colour. Very shimmery kind of beige sort of colour. So pretty. This one is called Strong AF. We know what AF means. I'm not saying it on my channel though. So this one is another one of the foiled shadows. A very unique shade. It's like a mixture of taupe with like undertones of almost like a purple to it. Really unique. This shade here is called Nirvana. This is another beautiful matte shade. It's like a very deep cool toned purple colour. It's almost bordering on brown, but it's not. It's purple. This shade here is called Haphazard. This is another one of the foiled shadows. This is like one of those duochrome kind of shadows. It's like got black underneath it, but then on top it's like cranberry stroke violet stroke purple. So one of those ones where it depends how the light hits it, but again, such a stunning color. This shade here is called Fearless. This one is another matte shade. This one is definitely more plummy than that one over there, but you can see how they all work together. So it's another gorgeous matte colour. This one here is called Hope. This one is another very intensely pigmented matte colour. It's like a charcoal brown colour. This one here is called Love Anarchy. Another beautiful matte shade. This one is definitely like a beigey mauve colour. Next up is the shade I'm wearing on my tear duct here called Maverick. So this is another one of the foiled shadows. As you can see, it's definitely not as intense as the other ones. It's more shimmery than foiled, I would say. But regardless, it's a gorgeous colour and great to use on the tear duct like I have. Now we've got this shade here called Rebel. Unsurprisingly, this is the troublemaking one, which tends to break because it's so soft. Such a pretty colour, you guys. It's duochrome. It's got different shades within it. It's got purples, golds. I can detect some kind of violet kind of colour. So it's one of those ones which, again, depends on how the light hits it. But it's a great shadow nonetheless. I'm wearing this on my eyelid. This shade here is called Freedom. This is another matte shade. As you can see, it's quite pale, but it works against my skin tone perfectly fine. It's like a pale mauvey sort of colour. And then last but not least, this shade on the end called Grunge. And Grunge obviously is the black gloss shade. So it's not an eyeshadow, it's a wet gloss. So this is all of the 18 eyeshadows all together, just so that you can see. Just to give you guys an idea of how the black gloss works, I've placed that shade Avant Garde on top of it. And now you can see how much it pops. So placing a black base under certain things really makes the colour stand out a lot more. It's completely up to you, obviously. So that's it for the swatches. What did you guys think? One thing I do have to mention is the gloss is a little bit on the difficult side to remove. I don't know if you can still see the black smudge on my hand, but you need to use something oil-based to remove it fully. And the good thing about that is that it doesn't actually come off of your eyes, because obviously you want it to remain, considering that it is something which is on the shiny, glossy, liquidy kind of side. But Personally, I think that this palette is really good. I'm actually happy with every single one of these shades. The only thing that I'm not happy with is obviously the palette is £62 and I have had 2 broken ones. That shadow which is in the middle, which I'm not going to open it because it's so difficult for me to keep closing it and opening it, is so delicate that it's literally broken apart twice. So that is my one bit of feedback for Huda. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 as a result of that. Now, that's not to say that the quality of the eyeshadows is bad. It's just that I know that a lot of the cost of these eyeshadow palettes actually goes into the packaging. And when the packaging is substandard, then obviously as a consumer, we do have to say that. Open it gently because I'm just paranoid about it. But yeah, overall, I think it's a gorgeous palette. I'm really happy with this. I will personally get a lot of use out of this, even if I don't necessarily use the black kind of shades all the time. But even if you think about work looks, everyday kind of looks, even if you've got like work events, I've got quite a few work related events coming up and I have to network and I have to go out in the evening as well for networking. So these are the kind of eyeshadows that I could then wear but to still look professional yet glam at the same time. So I really love this palette. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you going to get it? Are you not going to get it? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the info bar below. Other than that, I hope you guys are wonderful, fabulous and great. And of course, free Palestine.